Life doesn't come with a map, no compass, no instructions, just a cold, vast silence, and a single question burning behind your eyes. What am I supposed to do with this? The world wants to distract you from that question. It hands you toys, titles, beliefs, roles, and if you're quiet, if you listen closely, you'll hear the fear behind every smiling face, because deep down, they know the truth. Life has no meaning, not unless you create one. And most people are terrified of that freedom. They don't want freedom. They want permission. They want a story to plug into, a tribe to validate them, a god to approve their suffering. But when all the noise stops, when the crowd disappears, you're left with the raw reality Nietzsche faced. The universe isn't going to give you purpose. You have to build it. This isn't a motivational poster. This is war, a spiritual war. Nietzsche understood that the collapse of traditional values wasn't a tragedy, it was a test, a sacred invitation. He said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But that why, it doesn't fall from the sky. It doesn't get whispered by angels. It gets forged through fire, loneliness, and radical self-honesty. And here's where most fall apart, because it's easier to belong than to become. It's easier to repeat borrowed beliefs than to create something that might isolate you. It's easier to feel safe than it is to feel real. But comfort is a leash, a beautiful gold-plated leash, and Nietzsche dared you to break it. So ask yourself, what are you clinging to that was never yours? What beliefs, what fears, what version of success do you chase that makes your soul feel like it's on mute? The truth is, most people aren't living. They're coping, performing, numbing. They sleepwalk through rituals that give them just enough dopamine to avoid collapse. And deep down, they know it. That's the ache they drown with food, noise, scrolling, sex, validation. But it doesn't go away, because it's not depression, it's not laziness, it's existential starvation. Nietzsche didn't offer false hope. He didn't sell steps or hacks. He simply pointed to the void and said, "There's no meaning unless you make one, and no one is coming to do it for you." And if that scares you, good. It should, because this isn't about feeling good. This is about becoming dangerously alive. So what does that look like? It means owning your choices, standing by your values, even when no one claps, even when they laugh, even when you're alone. It means treating your life like a sculpture, not a performance. It means becoming the kind of person who walks into the void and doesn't beg it to be full, but dares to fill it. This is your challenge, to stop outsourcing your identity, to stop living on autopilot, to stop waiting for permission. If you want a meaningful life, you're going to have to build it from scratch. Burn your old scripts, question your inherited truths, and then choose. Not once, not for show, but every single day, because nothing is coming to save you. But if you're willing to look that in the eye and not blink, you might just realize that you don't need to be saved. You need to awaken. Most people say they want meaning, but they don't. They want comfort wrapped in the illusion of purpose. They want to feel righteous without paying the cost of truth. So they adopt beliefs like fashion trends. They hide inside systems. They obey ideologies not because they believe, but because belief makes the chaos quiet. That's not meaning. That's seduction. That's surrender. Nietzsche saw this everywhere. He called it what it was, a spiritual laziness. A refusal to look life in the eye and say, "I will decide what this all means." Because when the external scaffolding collapses, when the gods fall silent and the institutions decay, you're left naked in front of the void. And in that void, you have two choices: invent or escape. Most escape. They fill the silence with distractions. They confuse busy with purposeful. But the void doesn't go away. It waits, quiet, eternal. And Nietzsche didn't want you to run from it. He wanted you to stand there and build a throne. But to do that, you have to break a spell. The spell of inherited meaning. The spell that says you need to be validated, that you need to be understood, that your life has to be explainable to anyone but you. That's the trap. You were never meant to find meaning. You were meant to forge it. Forging hurts. It requires pressure, fire, and solitude. It means saying no to things that once made you feel safe. It means creating values that might make you the enemy in a world addicted to comfort. Nietzsche's Übermensch, the overman, wasn't about dominance. It was about responsibility. The rare individual who dares to write their own code, not because it's profitable, but because it's true. But here's the paradox. As soon as you start building your own values, you'll feel lonelier than ever. You'll question everything. You'll ache for certainty. And that's when most people run back. They compromise, they shrink, they dress up old lies in new language. Don't hold the line. Meaning that is truly yours won't arrive instantly. It will be tested by every storm. But once it's real, it becomes unshakable. There's a question Nietzsche asked, one of the most terrifying thought experiments ever created. He called it the eternal recurrence. He asked, what if you had to live this exact life over and over again forever? Every joy, every regret, every betrayal, every choice. Could you bear it? Could you choose it? If not, why are you living it now? That question isn't meant to shame you. It's meant to wake you up. Because if your current path couldn't be lived twice, why live it once? Every choice you make is a brick in the eternal structure of your soul. Choose carelessly, and you build a cage. Choose consciously, and you build a cathedral. And here's the raw truth. Meaning is heavy, but so is regret. And only one of them makes you stronger. So stop chasing someone else's dream. Stop fearing someone else's judgment. Stop surviving your life and start sculpting it. You don't need more time. You need more honesty. You don't need a sign. You need courage. You don't need answers. You need to decide what's worth suffering for. And if this is making something inside you stir, if this message is igniting a fire you thought had gone cold, then share it. This is Whispers of the Universe, and we're not here to sugarcoat life. We're here to dig deeper, to see clearly, and to whisper the truths most people are too afraid to say out loud. There's a cost to creating your own meaning, and it's not fame, it's not praise, it's isolation. Because the second you stop living for others, they stop knowing what to do with you. The moment you stop mirroring their fears, their rules, their version of normal, they pull away. Why? Because your freedom reminds them of their chains. Your courage forces them to see their comfort for what it really is. A cage with pillows. That's why becoming real, truly real, is the most dangerous thing you can do. The world doesn't reward authenticity. It resists it. Nietzsche knew this. He didn't walk the easy path. He didn't soften his words to be accepted. He burned bridges to light his own way. And the fire, it cost him everything. Reputation, friendship, even sanity. But in that fire, he found something priceless, the self. So here's the question. Are you willing to lose what's fake to gain what's true? Because meaning is not made in echo chambers. It's not made in applause. It's made in the silence, when no one's watching, and you choose to still live as if your life matters. That's not philosophy. That's power. But it's a different kind of power. Not control over others, not dominance, but sovereignty over your own soul. A life not borrowed, not inherited, not bought, but chosen. That's what Nietzsche meant when he said, "Become who you are." That sounds nice, right? Inspirational. But what it really means is this: tear down everything false. Stand in the ruins. Build something that costs you comfort, but gives you back your name. Because that name, your real self, it can't be found in a bio. It can't be handed to you by a parent, a pastor, a politician, or a social feed. It emerges only when you face the terrifying freedom of being the one who must define what is sacred. And most won't do it, because it's easier to survive than to awaken. It's easier to be liked than to be known. So they cling to roles. They mimic the crowd. They avoid the void and call it wisdom. But all they've really done is delay the reckoning. Let's go back to the eternal recurrence. That question that slices through the noise. Would you live this life again exactly as it is? If the answer is no, then don't wait. Change something. Speak something. Break something. Because regret is just meaning denied. And silence? Silence is the slow death of the soul. Every moment you shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort zone, you kill your own voice. Every time you wait for proof, for validation, for safety, you surrender the one thing you have that the universe can't duplicate, your inner fire. Don't trade that for anything. Not for belonging, not for peace, not even for love. Because when you stand in your truth, when you live a life you would willingly live again, you become untouchable. Not perfect, just whole. You become the architect of your suffering, the author of your values, the whisperer of your own future. So ask yourself again, not tomorrow, not next year, but now. What is worth living for? What is worth repeating forever? What is worth losing comfort to protect? If your answer scares you, write it down anyway. If your answer feels impossible, all the better. That means it's yours. That means it's real. There's a moment when everything falls quiet. The lies dissolve, the masks drop, the distractions fade. And in that silence, the real question rises. Not what's the meaning of life, but what meaning will I give it? That's the core. That's the crossroads. And most turn back right there. Because once you realize no one is writing your story but you, the freedom becomes terrifying. No more scripts, no more blame, just raw choice. And that's too much for most to hold. But you're still here. You didn't flinch, you didn't run. That means something in a world built on escape. It means the fire in you is still alive, maybe buried, maybe bruised, but alive. Nietzsche didn't want followers. He wanted creators, architects, people who stare into the nothing and dare to speak value into it, not with fantasy, not with fluff, but with action, with courage, with a voice that says I was not handed purpose, so I will forge one with my own hands. Because life without meaning isn't pain, it's numbness, and numbness is the true death. But when you make meaning, when you take your life and carve it into something intentional, you don't just survive, you ignite. Suddenly, your pain is no longer senseless, your struggles are no longer wasted, your scars become scripture, and your time becomes sacred. That's what we're here for, not to pretend life is simple, not to recite borrowed wisdom, but to whisper what no one else will say. You are the meaning, you are the answer, you are the one you've been waiting for. Not because it's easy, because it's real. And if you felt that truth burn in your chest today, if even one part of your soul whispered yes through the noise, then don't let that spark die. Feed it, act on it, speak it. Let it take shape in how you walk, how you speak, how you choose. Let the world see what happens when someone stops asking for permission to matter. Because that's what the world needs now. Not more noise, not more copies, but originals. Souls who've seen the void and didn't flinch, who've looked at the chaos and said, I still choose to create. So take this moment, carry it into your next breath, into your next decision, into your next risk. And remember, you don't need a perfect path, you need a real one. Your own one. One you'd walk again, even if no one ever noticed, even if no one ever praised you, even if you had to live it for eternity. Because when you live like that, you don't just survive the void, you fill it. You become it. The voice, the echo, the meaning. If you felt this in your soul, if this shook something loose inside you, then make sure you like this video and subscribe to Whispers of the Universe. This is where the silent truths live. This is where the uncomfortable questions get asked. This is where your fire gets fed. You're not alone in this, but you are responsible for your path, for your values, for your becoming. Because life has no meaning unless you dare to make one.